When Atlantic salmon enter maritime rivers in the spring, they are on their way to their spawning grounds in the upper reaches of the rivers. Late in the fall, you may see them there, where the water is shallow and riverbed firm. The female salmon lays about 5,000 eggs. When they hatch, the young salmon feed on the egg sac, clinging to their bodies. Then, as fry, fingerlings, and parr, they are on their own in their native river for 3 or 4 years. Lampreys, large fish, merganser ducks, and other aquatic birds prey on them, so that only a small percentage of young parr live to grow up into smolt. Then they lose their distinctive parr markings and, in a new silver coat, begin their long journey to the sea. So that along the Atlantic coast, a seasonal run of smolt go to sea, and later, as salmon, return up the rivers to spawn. The Fisheries Division of Nova Scotia, in association with the Federal Department of Fisheries, arranged with some fishermen of the Lahave area to tag salmon to trace their seaward movements. They mark these salmon by placing a numbered tag under the back fin of the fish. During this quick operation, they place the salmon in a straitjacket so it will not be hurt, and immediately afterwards let it go again. Later in the year, letters come back to the Fisheries Division containing tags from salmon caught by commercial and sport fishermen. This tag came from Barce's Corner on the Lahave River, not far from where the salmon was tagged earlier in the season. In fact, 28% of the tags were taken from salmon caught in the vicinity of the Lahave River itself. So it appears the Lahave must depend on its own salmon population for repletion each year. The Lahave, like other Nova Scotia rivers, is not large. In a normal summer, it is one of the best salmon rivers in the province. In a hot, dry summer, in common with all rivers, the water gets very low and warm. Salmon hesitate to come into a river in this condition, and fishing is poor. To see if salmon could be enticed into the river in dry years, the north and main branches were controlled. This was done by damming up the water in Sherbrooke Lake, a natural watershed at the head of the north branch. When the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Fisheries built this dam, they equipped it with a proper fishway and 2 gates for the control of the storage water. They open the gates when the river is low like this, and a flow of water soon fills up the river again and flows on down into Wenzel's Lake on the main branch, where it is held by another dam to control the water in the river and make a flash flood when the gates are open. The flash flood, starting here, has somewhat the effect of a heavy rainstorm and stimulates salmon to enter the river. After the flood is over, the height of water is controlled at good fishing levels. So the water from Sherbrooke Lake is held at Wenzel's Lake. The first freshet from Wenzel's brings the salmon some distance up the estuary. The second freshet brings them into the angling zone. A mechanical water gauge at Broom's Bridge registers the freshets like this. The experiments in water control provide more salmon for angling and encourage more salmon to reach their spawning beds. An experiment is of no value unless results can be determined. So salmon counters were placed in the river. The principal part of the salmon counter is this box-like affair. A framework of poles topped by a plank walk connects the counter with the shore. Since the counter is in the heaviest part of the current, they weight it down with sandbags. They put another section of the framework into place and a second counter into the current. The secret of success in using this instrument is to place the box in the normal path the salmon travel so they won't be hindered in passing up the river. Between the two box-like counters, they lock a leader made of laths. This directs the salmon into and through the counter. Further downriver on the main branch, they built a much larger salmon counter. When the salmon follow the current on their way upstream, they enter the counting box. An attendant is always on hand to count the salmon and free them almost as soon as they enter. Early in the season, he finds Gaspereau and shad as well as salmon on their way upriver to spawn. An automatic temperature recorder on the counter records water temperatures. By a study of these statistics, they find the effect of water conditions on the run of salmon. Almost 2,000 salmon went through in the 1949 and 1950 season. The attendant closes the up counter and goes to the one opening downstream. In addition to shad and Gaspereau, there will be many smolt, our future salmon, on their way to the sea. But the small number of smolt counted last year indicated either a lack of spawning grounds or a large reduction of young salmon by predators. The Fisheries Division took a census to find out why there was so few smolt going seaward. To do this, they blocked off sections of the river by setting nets across selected areas. When they know the number of young salmon in this and other sections, they can figure quite accurately the number of young salmon in the whole river. Working systematically across this enclosed area, they splash about and scare the young fish into a seining net. In each netful, they find minnows, trout, and salmon parr. They keep account of all salmon parr and fingerlings as they gradually cover every bit of the blocked-off area. They seine every small brook by following it up nearly to its source with nets. And they find parr in all areas accessible to the spawning salmon. But in the course of their investigations, they came across old neglected dams. Salmon can sometimes surmount natural obstacles. If not, these should have fishways built into them. But man-made obstacles of this type never should be built without a fishway, if the river is to be developed as a salmon river. When they seine above completely blocked dams like this, they net only minnows and trout, so it appears that salmon are not getting into all the available spawning grounds. Dams like this, located right in the main branch of the Lahave River, account in part for this river not producing enough smolt to support itself. And 2 miles further up this same river, there is another dam. These man-made obstacles on the main branch block off 283 square miles of spawning area. So the present survey shows that the largest potential spawning area on the Lahave is not available. And the actual spawning area in use only 65 square miles. Dams are necessary to industry, but fishways are too, if a river is to be well developed. A fishway, designed like a staircase, enables fish to climb from one level of the river to another. A fishway thus opens up many more miles of spawning area. There will be plenty of young salmon then to return as mature salmon from the sea. This will be a 5-year experiment to determine what can be done to improve both commercial and sport fishing. Indications are that it is successful, and there will be good fishing.